I'll just give a perspective of people that do inspections. And of course, these people, there is added value for glasses for them because it's by definition almost all of the time deskless workers. So it's all about empowering these deskless workers, but a specific set of deskless workers called inspectors. Now, when these people inspect something, they have, I would say, reference material. And what are they typically using? I would say that probably 80 to 90% in the world today of the inspectors walking around are still using paper. If you take the whole community, there are already a bunch of people, 10, 20% that use tablets, but most people still use paper, and they use paper for different reasons. The forms, that's I'm writing down, I'm going to inspect pressure of a compressor every day, I'm going to write down pressure in, pressure out, that type of stuff. That's a log sheet. Then I want to inspect something, but how do I inspect it and what do I check step by step? That's 1-point lesson, out of control action plans, inspection instructions, and for some part also standard operating procedures. And then you have more the contextual situation, which is, okay, but when do we inspect this process? Who does it? Why does it happen? Why do we do this? To assure quality, to make sure we're compliant with regulatory boards, whatever it might be. So that's more what I call the text. The real stuff that the inspectors, deskless workers, are using when they're out in the field or on the floor is the middle one, the 1-point lessons, the out-of-control action plans, and the right one, which is the forms. That's what they're using. Now, what's the reality today in life? We think with all this work we are lean and compliant because we're used to do it with paper for 50 years, but bottom line, first of all, it's no longer lean given the digital technology, and two, whether it's compliant, it's a subject for discussion because we see a lot of cases where people give us an instruction or an inspection sheet. You go down with the inspector to the floor and then he says, no, you don't have to control that anymore because step 2, we skip it, the machine has changed or this has changed. Bottom line, what does it mean? It means that the instruction sheet to do the inspection is no longer up to date. But it's not up to date for a good reason, because there is a lot more printing in this world than there is reading in this world. So it gets printed every time, but it gets put aside most of the times, or it sticks into a briefcase and never comes out. So it's not really used. The other thing is with these forms, we start archiving and then we file them and then we sometimes scan them in a PDF so we can prove it. First of all, can you prove it? It's not because it's signed off on a checklist that it's really happened. God knows, but somebody can have done it 2 days later at home. Oh, I forgot to do it, quickly fill it, sign off, send over the paper. So compliant, subject for discussion. And there is a lot of box ticking. When we go down into the field or the factory, you see people that are on step 25 of the inspection and they only ticked off step 1, or vice versa. They're on step 3 and they already ticked off all boxes. So bottom line, is this really compliant? And then all the paperwork, needless to say, it gives a lot of non-value added administration of the printing and the distribution. And so it's definitely in this world not optimal, yet still 80% reality. But the point is this: when you give these inspection sheets or instructions to people, there is a good reason why they don't use the paper. They don't use the paper because if I'm an inspector and I need to inspect something, the point is my job is inspecting, and most of the times I need my hands free. And so I have no time to read, nor do I have I would say, the context where I can sit down, read a piece of paper, hold it in my hands, I'm working. So for that reason, the middle one and the right one, the sheets and the log sheets and the instructions, they need to be presented in a different way as we do it today. It needs to be step by step, and it needs to be with me. I'm a deskless inspector, so as a consequence, I have no desk, no computer. At least that's far too heavy to wear. So give it on a tablet, give it on a phone, or give it on a watch or on a glass, be it a Google Glass or a Vuzix or whatever it might be. So then at least it's on my nose and I have my hands free. So where come wearables into the inspection of the future? At two levels. First of all, there are a number of wearables in jackets, on the wrist, that are there to what I would call track and trace the inspector himself. Is he still alive when he's up there, 5 floors high? Is he in a stress position, in a risk position? What is the environment? Should he be taken care of a moving object? So it's more to monitor the inspector and to make sure he does his job in a safe circumstance. Then the other one is, I want to inform the man or the woman that is doing the inspection, keeping her hands free while doing the checks, and also make her aware of certain hazards and risks and so on while she is doing the inspection. And so what you see there is maybe a forgotten device, but I think it's the Coppin Golden Eye, which is comparable to the RealWear that you might have seen. So it's a display somewhere in your field of view. It's an alternative to a glass. The device that truly opened the eyes for everyone, and we have to give credit to it, it's the Google Glass. And it's still a great device, but there are constraints. It's perfect, for example, in indoor, but if you're in harsh circumstances like wind, dust, water, it might be less suited to use. But the concept of the glass I still like, because it highlights, what is it? It's a display to give me information. It's on my nose, so I keep my hands free. That's number one. Number two, there is a camera in there. The camera is nice to take a picture when you're riding a bike, but it's also interesting to take a picture when you're doing an inspection or to shoot a video. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's connected with the rest of the world, also important. And the connection with the rest of the world in combination with the camera is an interesting thing. Because the device is on my nose, and I can see the world in front of me. The camera can see what my eyes more or less can see. And so I can stream the image to somebody else, which is a control room with maybe far better skilled or more expert, bigger experts, of which you probably only have a few, in a control room who can help me out and tell me what to do. Tell me how to inspect it, or tell me when I'm inspecting and I'm noticing an issue, corrosion, damage, whatever it might be. Is it really a risk? I can adjust. I cannot evaluate it. Maybe I'll call for an expert in our control room, and he'll make a judgment. To make that judgment, he needs to see what I see. Now we come to the inspectors. He needs to see what I see. And now I would just highlight, purely from an inspection point of view, a few elements that at least are subject for improvement of future glasses, and some glasses already work on it. Number one is this. As you will have noticed, in many glasses out there, the camera is, for a good reason, integrated with the display in one electronic arm, which is of course interesting because then you have all the electronics together. The disadvantage is this: you tune the display to your eye because you want to see the information, but by doing that you define the position of the camera because it's in the same block. And so the camera can point this way while the display is rightly tuned to your eyes. Now if you want to stream and have a second opinion on what you're inspecting, you want to see what your eyes are seeing. And in this case, I talked a lot with, and did also test with surgeons. They're the first one to notice it. They say, yeah, but you have to calibrate your head to make sure that the picture, the video that you're shooting or the image that you're streaming is the one that you're aiming at. So that is number one. Number 2 is this. That's a picture, it's a camera, 5 megapixel, new one probably more, and out there maybe 16 megapixel cameras. But in the end, it's a camera to take a high definition picture, video, but that's not I would say the challenge that you have as an inspector. In many situations, your challenge is this: how can I approach the target that I'm inspecting? Now it can become a difficult thing and a dangerous thing, because in the chemical industry, when you're inspecting a vessel under pressure, you don't want your head near that vessel, near that valve, near whatever it is. And so you want to keep a safe distance. But with a safe distance, it's okay, this type of lenses are okay to take a picture of the room, but not to zoom in on a detail that we want to discuss and evaluate as a subject of the inspection and a subject for evaluation. What shall we do? So you want to zoom in. And the other thing that is important in inspections is this lens. In industry, many objects are what I would call tagged, identified by a QR code or a barcode. Now these lenses, they're nice to take a picture, but they're not okay to scan a barcode. Okay, QR code is a little bit better, but we did benchmark tests with many of the devices out here. We really position them 10 centimeter, 20 centimeter, a meter, a barcode this small, a barcode that big, 70 centimeters, and most of the devices stop scanning, because the image is no good any longer to detect a barcode from it. But in industry, you want to verify a machine, a piece of an asset. You identify that piece of asset most of the time with a QR code or with a barcode. And then you will have to stick your head in the machine to get to it. Problem number 1. If you don't do it, well, you probably won't be able to scan it. And so these are a few of the real-life constraints that inspectors have when they're using these devices, although there is a big and, I would say, undisputable added value of smart eyewear, smart glasses for inspectors. Now, inspectors, can they use all kinds of glasses? And just to position it with what you see here outside the room, is there are glasses and there are glasses. Number 1, I take the extreme. There is VR. VR cuts your eyes off the world. Now that is in contradiction with an inspection. With an inspection, you want your eyes on the world because that's why you're there. That's why you're there. So, okay, VR and smart binoculars, it's great for training, it's great for education, it's great for gaming, but for an inspection, rule number 1, my eyes need to be clear and to see what they need to see, which is a piece of an asset or something else. That's number 1. So the devices like these type of devices, be it a HoloLens, be it whatever kind of binocular see-through glasses, you lose always part of the reality because of transparency. When you overlay digital information, you obstruct your field of view. So by definition, inspectors will be looking for something that keeps their eyes free. And so it has to be what I call a head-mounted display that is positioned discreetly somewhere in the corner of your field of view. And then we are talking devices like the Vuzix, like the glass, well, that type of device. There is an extreme device which you could use for inspection to a certain degree. It's what I call a GoPro in a glass. An example is here, the pivot head. So it's only a camera in a pair of glasses. The point of view is here, I cannot get feedback because there is no display. So it's only partly usable. So we're in the field of inspectors, in the field of informed reality or assisted reality. I explained that, and there are 2 big use cases. Tell me what to inspect, and help me out if I can't, I'm not qualified enough to make a judgment. Well, stream the image to a control room and help me out. So, conclusion, is it truly wearable? As an inspector, you want your hands free. Number 2, does it have the zoom lens? Number 3, does it have the power to support me for 8 hours, both in battery and in processor, because streaming consumes? And so I'll just highlight this last example. It's just out of the prototyping stage. This is a safety glass, heuristic safety glasses. Camera in the center, because your field of view is important, and a liquid zoom lens capable to zoom in 25 times, which means reading a business card from a 5-meter distance. And okay, it does not have processing power, it does not have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, because it's connected to a mobile phone, and it's really leveraging the mobile phone. Interesting concept as an alternative, and definitely interesting concept for what I would say inspection jobs. And I would leave it here.